When looking back at horror, there is no better film to review than one that truly revolutionized the genre's presence in cinema. Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, who's also known by many as the master of suspense, was a psychological horror film released in 1960 that sent its audience into a frenzy of terror and anticipation as these moviegoers entered the setting of the Bates Motel. Basically, the film focuses on an encounter between Marion Crane, portrayed by Janet Leigh, and a disturbed motel owner Norman Bates, played by Anthony Perkins, as well as the chaos that follows their meeting, which I'll get more into in a bit. First off, it's very crucial to know the context of this film. When Hitchcock pitched this to the studios, they were like, no way. There was no chance of them funding a movie with provocative scenes, violent death, and even possibly a cross-dressing actor. This was 1960. That wasn't tolerated. Anyway, he was very adamant about making this film, and he really needed it to continue the success of his prior films and keep his audiences engaged. He had 2 failed projects. He decided to personally finance this, which is dedication. And the film should have been garbage, but he nailed it. What started as a choice to save money became one of the best creative decisions of the film. Shooting in black and white added an entire other dimension to the atmosphere Hitchcock is creating. You don't need to see the red blood, but you know it's there, and you're still terrified of what's happening. Also, despite having a television crew behind the scenes, the cinematography was forever iconic, combining extreme close-up shots with quick pacing to really increase the emotion of terror in the audience. Hitchcock describes his camera technique as transferring the menace from the screen into the mind of the audience. Everything he does is purposeful. You don't need to see intense violence and torture porn gore to feel the pain and the fear of the character. Every element is carefully curated to generate horror, and it's amazing. During the shower scene, it was noted in a biography about Hitchcock that he was able to conduct the screams of the audience to the music, knowing exactly when they would be scared. As stated before, this film was revolutionary, and a lot of that is because of the controversy that came with it. He walked the line between not okay and okay, especially with the production code. He was fully aware. In fact, he lived for it. It was very open in its portrayal of sexuality. It was a great yet brief performance by Janet Leigh. Couples can share the same bed before they're married? What? Perkins' performance as Norman Bates also stirred up some great controversy with the presence of gender dysphoria and cross-dressing elements. Surprisingly, one of the concerns was the flushing of the toilet. That had never happened in popular film and television to date. Some could argue that the film is trope-heavy with the presence of the blonde girl dying first and the use of mental illness. However, he combines these tropes and the controversial elements successfully to argue against societal constraint. It said that the film heavily contributed to permissiveness in society with pushing of boundaries and commentary on the dark side of humans, which was never really acknowledged before. There's no doubt surrounding the success of this film. He even instated a no late admission policy, and people still lined the streets to see this film. At a time when barely any violence was allowed on screen, films were based on formulas and just about everything else was controversial. Hitchcock created horror. On a scale of 1 to 10, I will give it a 10. This film is iconic. Even if you don't like horror, you can appreciate the technique and artistry that went into the making of this film. There's a reason why it's called one of the greatest films of all time. Go watch it. You won't regret it.